Okay, so now that we looked at all the muscles that move the glenohumeral joint, we have to actually address the fact that we didn't actually look at all of the muscles that move the glenohumeral joint. There's another set of muscles that we need to learn, and that's the rotator cuff muscles. So there are four muscles that are going to help us rotate the head of the humerus in the glenohumeral joint when they contract individually. When they contract simultaneously, they help make sure that the head of the humerus stays in place in the glenohumeral joint. So there are four rotator cuff muscles. Those four rotator cuff muscles do slightly different actions when they're contracted individually. So I'm just going to color code these muscles because I basically gave you guys here bones to look at instead of the scapula, or instead of the actual like models. And that's to help us draw them out and see that, like, yes, there's a muscle here on the supraspinous fossa that is going to be right above the spine of the scapula right there. And then it's going to come and actually it's going to have a ligament that attaches here to the greater tubercle. I'm hoping, yeah, the greater tubercle of the humerus. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, the greater, the greater tubercle of the humerus. So that's supraspinatus. And supraspinatus is going to help us with abduction of our humerus. So it helps the deltoid a little bit in that abduction. And then infraspinatus is going to be rather large, again, attaching here to the greater trochanter. It's not greater tubercle. If I said trochanter before, I'm sorry. Greater tubercle of the humerus here, like this, and comes down in the infraspinous fossa. So on the model, you should see it usually has like 3 divisions, kind of like that. So this is infraspinatus. Infraspinatus, which is right there. So I'm just going to label this as infraspinatus. Sitting in the infraspinous fossa. We're not going to worry too much about what its innervation is, but we want to know that it's going to help us with pulling the head of the humerus backwards, and that should be medial rotation. It should be helping us with lateral rotation. Medial rotation is this direction. Double check the PowerPoint with the rotation. I know it's rotating it backwards. That's lateral rotation. Lateral rotation. And then the muscle underneath I'm going to put in purple. So it's also going to come and insert here at the greater trochanter and come down to the bottom portion of the infraspinous fossa. This muscle I'm going to put in purple because remember, purple was my axillary nerve. So this is teres minor. It has the same insertions here for the infraspinatus. So these two muscles are going to help us move our scapula. It doesn't help us move our scapula. Should rephrase that. It helps us move the head of our humerus right in the glenoid cavity backwards. So it's helping us do that lateral rotation right there. Lateral, yeah. I'm trying to remember. Yes, lateral rotation. Okay. Remember, that's axillary nerve. So you see how these 3 muscles all have the same attachment point. They have the same insertion point on the humerus. So something you want to pay attention to. And then when we look at the front side of the humerus, remember, this is the subscapular fossa. So the subscapular fossa has another muscle called the subscapularis muscle, which actually comes and inserts on the lesser tubercle. So that muscle would be right there, which is subscapularis. So subscapularis is going to help us do medial rotation. Yeah, medial rotation because your arm is going inwards. So these 4 muscles essentially are going to help you with like being able to do a softball pitch or even just a regular hardball pitch because it helps with that rotation of the humerus inside of the glenoid cavity. Okay. So that's it for how the glenoid cavity is, or how the humerus moves in the glenoid cavity, as well as a little bit of the elbow stuff. We're going to see some elbow movement when we go to the next part, which is to look at the synergist of the antebrachium.